welcome to EBC World with the news. I'm Binyam Getana with the latest updates. Here are now the top stories. Once again, just stay tuned. Ethiopia is making every effort to keep the reservoir's water level stable despite the drought in the Horn. And India expressed its commitment to further cement bilateral ties with Ethiopia. Welcome back once again. You're watching ABC World. Now the news in full. Stay tuned. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has just arrived in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to attend the inaugural Saudi African Summit. The summit aims to strengthen ties and cooperation between Saudi Arabia and African countries. Saudi Arabia is hosting this summit focused on enhancing its comprehensive partnership with Africa. And the meeting is expected to boost collaboration in key areas, including science, education, economy, culture, and more. Likewise, political analysts say Saudi Arabia has been actively working to build stronger bilateral and multilateral relations with African countries more than ever before. Meanwhile, Ethiopia's ambassador to the United States of America, Sleshi Bekele, held discussion with Senator Mike Rounds on way to further promote the relationship between Ethiopia and the United States to strategic partners level. Ambassador Sleshi tweeted that, quoting, "We have discussed the U.S.-Ethiopia relation, AGOA and trade, implementation of Pretoria Peace Agreement and humanitarian support." Recalling the 120 years old Ethio-U.S. diplomatic relation, Ambassador Sleshi noted useful economic relationships such as in aviation industry, coffee, textile trades are expanding. Likewise, Ambassador Sleshi added that hundreds of thousands of Ethiopian diaspora live in USA and now it is timely to promote the relationship to a strategic partnership level. In other news, military attaches from 16 countries based in Addis Ababa visited Guba, Ethiopia, to witness the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. They were briefed by project manager Kifle Horo, who explained that the dam will generate electricity without causing significant disruption in downstream countries. The 97% completed Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam construction will significantly interconnect the region and supply power to countries with scarce electricity. The visit also highlighted Ethiopia's vast untapped natural resources for development and benefiting its entire population.
ሶሳ ከተማ ቤንሻንጉል ጉሙዝ አሶሳ መንገዷ ይመስላል።
Welcome back. You're still watching ABC World as the news continues. Ethiopia's water potential plays a pivotal role for creating integration amongst the neighboring countries. This is according to Minister for Water and Energy, Habtamu Itefa. During the media briefing, the minister reaffirmed that Ethiopia is making every effort to keep the reservoir's water level stable, despite the fact that the Horn of Africa is experiencing a drought. Attending the event, Tigist Nisa reports the full story. Have a look.
Endowed with river basins from which hydroelectric power has been generated, Ethiopia has a considerable level of geothermal, solar and wind farm energy, which has been exported to neighboring countries in the East African region. Engineer Habtamu stated that even if there's drought happening in the entire Horn region, Ethiopia is doing level-based to maintain water levels of the reservoir.
Of course, yes, we had drought. There has been limitation of rainfall. That means there is a problem with the water that is coming to the dam. But we have been working hard to maintain the water level in our reservoirs so that the generation capacity couldn't be reduced. So I want to be clear. In the past years, even though we have seen drought in Ethiopia, the drought effect was not significantly seen on our hydropower generation, and nothing had happened to our export capacity. Our neighboring countries, Kenya, Sudan, Djibouti, are getting their maximum interest, what they have been asking from our side. Still, we are committed to continue supplying this energy to our neighboring countries as we have huge potential.
The minister went on saying that in terms of creating integration amongst the neighboring countries, Ethiopia's water potential plays a vital role, he says.
The last 2 years, our achievement on GERD, our Great Ethiopian Dam, that we could produce to the maximum capacity of 540 megawatt of generation capacity from the 2 turbines. And now, recently, we are having much more than that, is getting injected into our grid system that still is benefiting our country. So, we believe our water resource potential we are having, that we are changing it into power, is a blessing for Ethiopians as well as for our neighbors. That will be helping us for regional integration and for cooperation. That will make all our neighboring countries, brothers and sisters, and Ethiopians to be benefited from what we are doing on. So the globe, the world, development partners shall understand and support our plans that we are intending to produce green energy and then delivering to our neighboring countries.
Ethiopia has been implementing a 10-year development plan from 2021 to 2030 with the goal of extricating itself from poverty.
In our diplomatic story, Ethiopia and India are celebrating 75th year anniversary of their historical bilateral ties since 1948. Talking to EBC English, Indian ambassador to Ethiopia said India is committed to further cement its bilateral ties with Ethiopia in various fields. Habtamu Ashagre has attended the full story, and take a look.
India is among the top 5 nations with significant trade connections to Ethiopia, according to available data. The two nations are looking for new methods to increase their strategic collaboration even as they commemorate their 75th years of strategic partnership since 1948.
$0.7 billion last year.
Talking to EBC English, the Indian ambassador to Ethiopia, Sherry Robert Shetkin Tong, said Ethiopia is committed to deepen bilateral trade with Ethiopia.
Bilateral trade between India and Ethiopia stood at about $2.7 billion last year. In terms of Indian investments, we have 650 Indian companies registered with EIC. And I believe about 300 Indian factories are on the ground, giving employment to 75,000 Ethiopian nationals. So if you look at our relations, the business and trade is very much important.
According to the ambassador, numerous Indian business companies are on pipeline to do business in various fields in Ethiopia.
We have about 15 textile factories. For example, at Bolelemi Industrial Park, we have 3 factories. One of them, JJ Textiles, gives employment to 9,000 Ethiopian nationals. We have 4 Indian pharma factories. For example, at Kilinto Industrial Park, which is meant for pharma sector. The only factory that is producing medicine at the moment is an Indian factory called Glocare. For example, at Jima Industrial Park, I believe at the moment the only factory that is producing or working at Jima Industrial Park is an Indian company producing avocado oil.
Information obtained from Ethiopian Investment Commission is showing that it has registered over 600 Indian business proposals to do business in Ethiopia last year.
And finally, the US and European Union are joining forces with the African Development Bank and African Finance Corporation to finance a project to develop the Lobito Corridor and Zambia-Lobito Railway. Together, they will form a link across the mineral belts of Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia. And the projects are to be carried out under the auspices of a G7 initiative called the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Invest. Here is more from CGTN.
Since it was formally launched in 2013, China's Belt and Road Initiative has been a game changer in Africa's infrastructure landscape. Through the BRI, railways, roads, bridges, schools, airports and several other projects have been constructed across Africa. The Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, or PGI for short, is the US and G7 similar plan. Through the PGI, the G7 plans to invest around $600 billion over a 5-year period until 2027 to close the infrastructure gaps in emerging economies around the world.
We have, as the U.S. government, President Biden, committed to make sure that we deploy and leverage $200 billion of those $600 billion.
In Africa, the G7's PGI has zeroed in on the Benguela Railway, also known as the Lobito Corridor, which connects Angola and the Democratic Republic of Congo. The US and their European partners have committed to provide loan assistance for the refurbishment of the rail line and the construction of a greenfield railway line linking the Lobito Corridor to copper mining sites in Zambia.
This is a really important set of infrastructure projects that we think not only help support regional trade and connectivity to the West, but also that allows us to invest in communities that are operating, living all along those routes in multiple different ways.
The 3 African governments involved have since signed an MOU with the US, the EU, as well as the Africa Development Bank and the Africa Finance Corporation. Feasibility study on the Greenfield Railway line to link Zambia is expected to begin by the end of the year.
The starting point is that this will benefit Africa, and as it benefits Africa, I will still give the credit to China. China's success and sincerity in relating with Africa on the FOCAC platform, and recently, in addition, on the Belt and Road Initiative, is what is forcing America and the rest to make a move towards Africa.
China has indeed helped to turn around the infrastructure of many African countries in the last decade. The West had literally sat on the sidelines for a long time, but it's now decided to step into the fray.
If the G7 wants to copy China, they should copy them by also manufacturing in Africa like China does. It's very important. It wouldn't add much value or create the value chain if they just come, go to a copper mine, go to a lithium mine, go to whatever mine, take the mineral resources, put them on the train because I built a railway line, and ship them to the shores of Angola and move them out of Africa. That would be a recolonization, and I wish that no African leader should take it, especially those 3 countries that would be involved in the Lobito Corridor.
There's no timeline yet for the completion of the Lobito Corridor project, but to underscore its commitment to the initiative, the United States has announced it is deploying $1 billion for new solar development, internet connectivity and others in Angola. So somehow, the United States and the EU seem to have woken from their long slumber on investing in Africa's infrastructure.
Well, that wraps up the news with me from Binyam Gitana, and thank you for being with us. Have a lovely time and enjoy the rest of the program. Bye for now.